there, restaurant recipe lovers. Welcome back to The Daily Dish, a Copycat.com podcast where I help you recreate your favorite restaurant dishes right in your own kitchen. I'm Stephanie Manley, and I've been recreating restaurant favorite recipes since 1995. I'm sharing a recipe that was born out of pure financial necessity, my copycat version of Wingstop's Louisiana Rub wings. I was absolutely hooked the first time I tried these wings. The perfect balance of Cajun spices with just a hint of heat had me returning to Wingstop so frequently, they knew me by a first name basis. And I kept going until I saw what it was doing to my wallet. So before I get started, I really want to thank everyone who's been making our recipes, sharing their photos on social media, and tagging us. I also love the people that leave the comments on the website. You guys really make my day. Remember, you can always find the complete written version of today's recipe on Copycat.com. We also have placed a link in the show notes on this podcast. So you can get all the measurements, step-by-step photos, and detailed instructions either in the show notes or on the website. One Sunday during football season, we had a craving that wouldn't quit and a bank account that was begging for mercy. I decided to try recreating these wings at home. After several test batches, and some very thrilled neighbors who happily served as taste testers, I finally nailed the recipe. The recipe that I'm sharing today tastes exactly like the restaurant version, but costs just a fraction of the price. Now, if you've never tried the Wingstop's Louisiana Rub wings, let me tell you what makes them so special. They're bold, zesty, and packed with authentic Cajun flavor. These wings are perfectly crispy on the outside while remaining incredibly juicy and tender on the inside. What really makes them stand out is the buttery Cajun rub that clings to every bite, delivering restaurant-quality flavor in every mouthful. Now, I'm usually a make-from-scratch kind of cook. I'm the copycat lady, but I discovered the shortcut that makes this recipe both easy and authentic. The secret ingredient, McCormick Gourmet Cajun Seasoning. This pre-made blend delivers the perfect balance without requiring you to buy and measure a dozen different spices. Don't be afraid to use a jarred spice mix. This one is every bit as good as homemade and will save you a ton of time. Now let's talk about the ingredients. You're going to need fresh chicken wings. I always recommend fresh over frozen for juicy results, but if you have frozen, hey, let's go with it. They will work just fine. You're going to need vegetable oil for frying, which creates the high heat environment needed for getting those wings perfectly crispy while remaining neutral in flavor. For the Cajun sauce, you're going to need unsalted butter, which forms the rich base and helps the seasonings adhere to the wings. Plus, of course, the McCormick Gourmet Cajun seasoning I just mentioned. I really stress using the unsalted butter. Some people are a bit sensitive to salt, and the Cajun spice blend has salt already in it. So if you think things are too salty for you sometimes, do not use salted butter on this. Now, if you can't find the McCormick seasoning, you can absolutely use your favorite Cajun seasoning or even make your own blend. I have a blend in the recipe on the website, so you can use that one if you like. The beauty of making these at home is you can adjust the spice level to suit your taste. Now, let me walk you through the process. First, you're going to need to prep the wings if they haven't already been separated. Pat them dry with a paper towel. This prevents the knife from slipping while you're cutting them. Then use a sharp knife to cut off the wing tips at the joint. You won't be using the tips. You can either freeze them to make chicken stock or discard them. Next, gently pull the wing apart and find the ball and socket joint and use the tip of your knife to cut between the joints. The key here is to cut on the joints. If you miss it, you're going to be having to saw through bone. So you may need to get the hang of it, but if you cut between the joints, these are super easy peasy to cut. Now for the frying. If you don't have a deep fryer, you can use a heavy bottomed pot. And you want to add about 4 inches of vegetable oil. If you do a lot of deep fry, it may be worth investing in an inexpensive deep fryer. You can find several good options online. The key to perfect wings is getting your oil temperature right. Bring it up to 350 degrees. If you're not using a fryer with a built-in thermometer, I suggest that you invest in a good thermometer that you can attach to the side of your pot. While waiting for the oil to heat up, cover a rimmed baking sheet with a paper towel and place a cooling rack on top. Once your oil reaches 350 degrees, add 5 or 6 wings at a time and fry for 8 to 10 minutes, or until they're golden brown. Use a slotted spoon to remove them to the wire rack. Let the oil come back up to temperature before adding another batch. This is crucial for keeping the perfect crispiness. Now, I also really suggest resting your wings on a cooling rack. This is what they do in restaurants. If you rest your wings on a paper towel, they steam and you lose some of that crispiness. So wire rack is the way to go. While your wings are frying, you can prepare the Cajun sauce by simply melting the butter in a saucepan over low heat or a microwave if you prefer. Whisking in the Cajun seasoning is your next step. When your wings are done, pour a few tablespoons of the sauce into a large mixing bowl, add 5 or 6 fried wings, and toss them until they're well coated. Serve immediately for the best flavor. Now let's talk about the cost savings, which I know is important. A regular order of 8 wings at Wingstop can cost anywhere from $8 to $12, depending upon your location. And for the same price, you can make 20 to 30 wings at home. That's a huge savings, especially if you're feeding a family or hosting friends for game day. Now, while you have your fryer out, why don't you make some delicious sides to go with it? Fried mushrooms are a fantastic option. You should check out my recipe for Fat Ronnie's deep fried mushrooms. They are extra crispy, delicious, and fry up in just a few minutes. Quick aside here, Fat Ronnie was a man who lived in Topeka, Kansas in the 1970s. We would go to Fat Ronnie's to pick up onion rings and fried mushrooms, and these were the best ever. And what Fat Ronnie would do is he would fry up a big batch of mushrooms or onion rings and put them in a paper bag, and they would be filled up to the top. So I still remember Fat Ronnie's, and my goodness, that was a few years back, over 40 years ago, but Fat Ronnie's was awesome. Okay, back to the story. All right, you can make some fried pickles. Those go well with wings too. Now, I do have my Red Robin pickle nickels, and you know what? You can also try the Red Robin's campfire sauce. That is delicious too. Now, for something different, you might want to try some fried cheese curds. If you've never had cheese curds before, don't be intimidated. They're just unaged cheddar, and once you bread and fry them, they're absolutely delicious. Now, often Aldi carries cheese curds, so if you're not in an area where they sell them a lot, check out Aldi. They may have them. If you end up with leftovers, though it's rarely the case in my house, let the wings cool completely before storing them in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. When it comes to reheating, the air fryer is your best friend. Just heat it up to about 360 degrees. Arrange your wings in a single layer. Heat for about 5 minutes per side or until they're crispy and heated through. If you don't have an air fryer, you can use your oven. Preheat it to 375. Place the wings on a lightly greased baking sheet for about 15 minutes, flipping halfway through. One important tip, avoid using the microwave for your wings, as it will make them soggy, and you will lose that wonderful crispiness. There's something deeply satisfying about recreating restaurant favorites at home, especially when they turn out this delicious, while being so much more budget-friendly. Remember, you can always find the complete written recipe at copycat.com, where I include all the measurements, detailed instructions. This one is going to have a video, so you can check out the video. And there is a convenient link in the show notes of this podcast episode to take you to that. I'm also going to include the links: Fat Ronnie's mushrooms, the pickle nickels, and campfire sauce from Red Robin. So you are going to have a full meal there. Once you master this recipe, you're going to find yourself hosting wing night more often. Just be prepared for friends to coincidentally stop by on game days. I'd love to see your wing creations. So if you would, why don't you share your photos on social media and tag us? We're at Copycat Recipes. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Until next time, this is Stephanie Manley from Copycat.com, helping you bring the restaurant experience at home. So why go out when you can cook at home?